people get better at it, and then even working with people that aren't in part of my downline and seeing them succeed, it's instant gratification that you can teach people how to do it. You can all make money together, and it just makes coming to work, because this is coming to work a lot funner for me.
I got a question for you, and Jason, if you have anything to say about overrides, let me know. And um, but this, I spoke about like, hey, when you decide that this is for you, there's going to be a lot of things around you that may hint to you that it may not be for you, right? Like meaning, like I told you, right? There's 12 people when you started on one of these trainings, and I said, hey, one or two of you guys will be here in 6 months. How, what can you speak to a Jonathan who's just getting going, Braylon who's just getting going, right? That, hey, how could they be the one that's still here in 10, 11 months? What are the things that you saw some folks that, man, I was at the same level as them when we started, or actually they may have been a little bit above me, but dude, they just fell off and quit. Like, what are some of those things that you saw from the outside? Because you don't know everybody's story, right? But from the outside, what was your perception of, damn, why did they fall off? Did that help you? Did it hurt you? How help me as a new agent get through people around me losing belief in me keeping it? How's that work?
I think that as far as like people that are brand new coming in, what what I can say to them, and this is it's very basic, but I'm gonna elaborate on it, is putting in the time and not getting frustrated. And that's hard to say because I'll be honest with you, I still get frustrated. There's days where, you know, I'll get frustrated because nobody's answering the calls. That's what everybody gets. And I know a lot of the new agents come on and they say, nobody's answering the phone. I've called 200 calls. I can't get a hold of them. I'm not sure what, that's a frustration, but getting out of your that headspace that's stopping you, that belief that to know that there's policies behind all those leads, no matter what. And the leads that you new people are getting are the same leads that everybody gets that have been in the business for 6 months, a year, 10 years. They're all the same exact leads. It's a matter of just getting your mind right. And that's probably the hardest thing to try and teach somebody is to, hey, you got to focus. You got to get your mind right. You got to do this. You got to do this. But it's each person is so different that's why Dom said out of 12 people, maybe two people will be here because you have to have that. And you don't have to be super strong to be able to do this. You got to just have that focus and the drive. And I think what really helps out a lot is just getting, when you first start, to get that first couple policies within that first week instead of waiting a week or two or three. And then it's like, oh man, this isn't working for me. You got to get that policy like soon. Like you just got to put in that effort, and once you get it, you're gonna feel it. And the best time, I used to tell this to a lot of agents I used to have, is the best time of the day to write a policy is right after you write one. And once you get that first policy when you're brand new, if you can take that and just keep going and going and going and have it snowball in the right way, as opposed to just letting, a week or two go by and getting frustrated, but just try and get that policy. That's the biggest thing. And the way to do it is to just put in the time. Because if you got leads and you're putting in time, you're going to run into a policy. I promise you, you will run into a policy. Somebody is going to just like, they all want the policy. They all want it, but you're going to run into somebody who's just like a laydown and then run with it and just keep building on that. So that's kind of my advice to the new people is just trying to just to get your mind right. That's it. And to focus. Because when you're by yourself and you don't have anybody managing you, it's easy to slip away. It's easy to go do something else. It's
Right.
easy to take a phone call. It's easy to hop on social media. But if you just focus and set these little time slots for yourself, like when I changed my schedule around, it was 180. I mean, I used to work from 9 to 6, 9 to 7, but I'd have little shit in between, stuff in between. But now I do these blocks of 9 to 12. I'm focused, nothing distracting me. I don't care what it is. And then I do another block of it. And I just keep doing that because it works for me. Maybe people are different, but I think just writing your schedule, writing it down, and actually sticking to it, you're going to be successful.
I couldn't agree more, man. This this deal, if you let what's going on around you, you're gonna see it, you're gonna feel it, but don't let it dictate your next move. All right. Being a winner is a choice, and you're just gonna choose to do it. Like nobody's like, damn, dude, I can't believe that I'm like successful. I'm like, well, why not? You've been putting in the work. This isn't you didn't create nothing. Makes sense? Like this isn't an idea. This is sweat equity. And everybody you see, they're putting in sweat equity. Some more than others, which is why folks they may get somewhere a little bit faster. Well, that just means they just put a little bit more time in. That's it. All right. Bryce.
Yeah, let me say one last thing before you go, bro. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I just want to say that because there's a lot of people who have their own personal issues that like we don't need to hear about it, obviously, but you guys know who you are. I'm one of them. I want you guys to know that I've got like some teenage daughters. Okay. I've got a 5-year-old little boy. It's summertime. They're running around. I got all kinds of shit going on, but I find the time. Bryce, you got a little boy running around. I mean, Dom, you got a little boy. I mean, we have our own lives too. We don't just have this. We don't just jump in a bubble and we're able just to write all these policies. We have the same thing everybody else does. So whatever you have going on in your life, it's not easy to say, but it's always said, yeah, set your stuff by the door, go to work, deal with that later. And that's what you really have to do. You gotta figure out a way to do that to be successful.
Some people are better at it than others, and it's a skill. It's a skill. It really is. And the best way to learn it is just to be around people who do it. Do you know what I mean? Just be around people who just handle stuff, and you'll be like, wow, that's going on in your life? Yeah, dude. What are you concerned with? Oh, man, I'm just trying to figure out daycare for my kid. Wow, I wish I had that problem. Makes sense? Like, that'd be great. Dom, you just don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand because if I told you what this guy had going on or this girl had going on, you'd be like, wow, really? Yeah, just call the leads, man. They're just people who filled out forms. They want insurance. Do you know? But perspective is everything. It's everything. Today, we have a topic that I believe we can get a lot of feedback on, and I think some input on from our current agents. Okay, a lot of these topics you guys will see. We have probably like a 4 or 5 week rotation. We're going to be bringing up some of the same stuff, but it's not going to be spoke about in the same way.
Yeah.
So you can go to the YouTube page and go, hey, I'm going to look at building value and designing the plan. I bet you this one's going to be different than the last one, and that one's going to be different than the previous one. Okay. And the reason is because things change, man. And there's really no cookie cutter way to do this. There's a position to be in. And I hope you guys understand positioning in sales versus word tracks or product. You have to position yourself in the right place. Because if you look at any script that's out there, successful script, they position themselves in the same manner. They'll say different words at different times, but the position that they're in when they're ready to deliver the close or deliver the solution, they're all in the same position. You know, it doesn't matter. So today, the value and design of the plan, I want some feedback from you guys on, like, if I'm new and I've been doing this 2-3 weeks or so, value and design of the plan is probably some of the biggest questions that I got.
100%.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's probably some of the biggest questions that I would have. So I want to hear some of your feedback of like, if I, and there's no bad questions, could be like, I had a hard time bringing value because in my mind, it was only $5,000, only $10,000, only 15. And it'd be hard for me to bring value to somebody when they were trying to be kind of like clients are. Does that make sense? Like when I started, some of these clients that I thought were complete assholes that didn't care about their family, today are the most loving people to their family. I just needed to learn how to ask those people questions. And I just needed to learn how to bring value to $5,000 and not think that, oh, broke ass can't afford five. I'm just letting you know me. I had to figure this part out because everybody doesn't see $5,000, 10,000, 100,000. Some of you guys are like, oh, only 100,000, that's it. And then you take that into your sales process. And when you present anything less than what you believe is valuable, you don't sell it. So I'm giving you some examples of this was me. I don't know what you're going through, but I know when I started, those were big things for me to try to figure out, like, why is this even valuable to people? If they didn't have it, they could save that money. I was just like the damn client, kind of, sort of. So let's talk. Let's have an open discussion and knock some of this stuff out. Okay. Because I think this is big. B, what you think, brother?
Well, I'm glad that you wanted to take this in the direction of a discussion because if you've been on these trainings every day for these last 2 weeks, it's probably been the thing that has been coming up the most, especially our last two guest trainers, right? Like, we're going to talk about it right now, but I promise you, if you just go back and watch Clint's training and Dennis's training, the meat of those were about this. Like, it was the questions that got brought up. It's the thing they talked about the most. And I'm really glad and I'm excited to talk about it again today because like you said, Dom, I think it's the thing that you need to work on the most as you progress through getting down the script and sales process. It's the thing, like you said, you should have the most questions about, that you should be throwing new things in, trying new things, because I think it's the least able to be scripted. It's the part that is the most like you got to be on your toes in the entire sales process. And I try to like articulate the way that I view this sale in a very simple way. Like I view the sale in like steps, right? And so if we go, okay, the script that we all did for our release presentation, that's obviously not the whole sale, but that's like the intro, right? That is setting up the call. And then the next part is very simple too, because it's the financial inventory. It's very, obviously it can go some different directions, but it's not, you can follow a piece of paper and ask the questions that are on there, and it'd be very similar each time. What's their budget? What's their income? Do they already have insurance? That type of stuff. Their health, right? But the building, designing the plan, digging deeper into the why, designing the plan is the most like on your toes, off script, different every time. And so that's why we spend a lot of time on it. And then from there, dude, it's just filling out the application. So this is the gap that's like a massively important part of the sale that again, I'm really glad we touch on it a lot. Um, but I don't know, like I'm just thinking of like who has been on these calls that is also on the phones that has taken what we've been talking about in this part specifically and then made changes or implemented. Like like
Yeah, I think that's a
Kaylee,
good place. I think that's a good place to be.
Lacey, who else? Brayley, you guys are the ones that are on here today with your cameras on that have been on the phone. So I'm really curious if there's anything we've been talking about that you've implemented or changed or, learned and felt has been helpful as we've been talking about this piece.
I can speak because I just did a policy and it kind of went back to value, building the value because what he wanted versus what he had to pay. Because he was an 82-year-old man wanting $100,000 worth of coverage to cover his home equity loan. And so I had to really build value on only getting $40,000 worth of coverage and paying $608 a month for this coverage as well. And I don't think I could have done that without all the training that I have gotten. But by the end of it, he wasn't so fixated on the 100,000, but the fact, and I will also mention that when this guy, I had talked to him in March. He was one of the first guys that I talked to, kind of rude, told me he was going to go through John Hancock. I was able to help him, yada, yada, yada. So he's been getting declined. And he desperately messaged me this weekend, like, it's an emergency. I talked to you on Monday. And he called me 5 times because I wasn't able to pick up the phone right away. And once I told him I could talk now, he called me back immediately and was very upset at first. Like, I've been trying to get insurance, I can't get insurance. And he still had fixated on 100,000. He keeps getting declined for 100,000. And so we went through his health problems. He goes, I don't get it. I go to my doctors. And so once we went through his health, his normal diabetes, high blood pressure, and everything, now we did a soft pull. So that's what really I think helped me the most in this situation is I did a soft pull. I didn't give him any numbers to think on. I gave him a soft pull, and then I paid attention to little details he told me. Like he wanted to make sure when he passed, his wife could take care of that home equity loan, which mind you is only a $300 payment. And so that $300 payment became valuable later because I had to build value on the 40,000. So I calculated it out and said, okay, you've actually got 11 years worth of payments covered for your wife with $40,000 worth of coverage. So I showed him the value in the 40,000 and how it'll cover her for 11 years. And that's ultimately how I sold him on that policy. And it was a lot more challenging because he kept trying to go back to the 100,000, getting multiple policies. It was expensive. He's 82. I can't get $50,000 policies everywhere. And so really what helped is listening to all the little pieces that he was telling me and kind of reiterating those to him and reminding him, hey, this is what we're looking for. I get you want this, but you came to me when you're 82. And so now we've got to do what you're able to do. You said you keep getting declined. I've got you pre-approved. Now this is what I can do for you, rather than allowing him to tell me what he wants.
That's it. Or as opposed to having it be so much about the price and the numbers that's what the sale is based off of.
Right.
Right? What this is about is making like what Dennis was talking about, making the sale based off of the value that the insurance is going to provide to the beneficiary versus obviously the price is important. The price has to fit in their budget. But too much, like I think the thing that we've been noticing, the more I've been like, asking you guys about what are we missing, in our sale and the questions that we get and stuff like that, I realize it's so much of about we're making too much of the sale based off of about the price to the client as opposed to the value behind what the insurance is going to do for the family. And so the more that we can just sit back, ask good questions, make that 40,000 like this is what it's going to do for you versus okay, it sounds like, you want to see how much 40,000 is? Here's how much it's going to cost. You know what I mean? And let's be real, if you're 82 or even 50 or anything in between, and you don't have like a ton of insurance experience or whatever, if you just look at a $40,000 whole life plan, it would be easy to think like, oh, that's a lot. If we look at price per coverage, you know what I mean? But so that's why it's up to us to assign the value to the plan. So they pick it based off what it's going to do for their family, as opposed to it just being so much about just the price. Because again, like Dom said the other day, if it was just about like, oh, getting a great deal for my insurance, we wouldn't have jobs. Everybody would just do it themselves online. Like this is the truest thing ever. But that's the part of the sale where we're the most required to help this person realize this is what they're getting so they actually get the insurance for their family. And 9 times out of 10, it's somebody getting probably less coverage than they want, but we are the ones that help them realize what it's actually going to do for their family, and it's what fits their budget. And so that's what makes it make sense enough for them to actually pull the trigger and move forward.
Hey, Bryce, when I said that, that was the first time I ever thought about that. Like I was thinking about it, I was like, hold on, I think this is the part to why we have a career, why I have a career right now. I think this is the main reason AI will never replace me in what I do. Because, man, I promise you guys, it's the only thing that separates us.
Dude,
yeah.
You know what? When you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was the Ethos application and the Ethos sales process, right? So let's think about it. With Ethos, you can send a link to the client and they can fill out an application themselves. And it's really funny. Early on in the application, it asks, what do you want this insurance to do for you? You can select, I want it to replace my income. I want it to cover my final expenses. Let's think about our script. Early on in the script, I go, okay, Dom, were you looking at this insurance because you wanted to make sure you recover your final expenses, replace your lost income, or leave a gift? And they'll say something, and we go, okay, cool. Like I have a high level idea of why we're on the phone now. And maybe we dig a little bit deeper, but it's too early on in the call to like just hammer in the why because we haven't even said structure yet, right? We haven't said, all right, cool, here's how we're gonna do that. I'm gonna ask you about your health, your budget, we're gonna design the plan, you're gonna pick one that you like, we're gonna submit an application, then you go through that, then you go through health, then you go through budget. So like if without that digging into the why and finding the need and building the plan, all we are is doing the same thing that they could do on an Ethos application themselves. They answer a high level question, final expenses, cool, move on, ask us some just, survey questions essentially, and then hit submit on the application. And when we don't build out the why and dig into that and design the plan to fit a need, we might as well have just sent them a link to do an application with Ethos themselves.
Correct.
That's the first thing I thought when you said it. I'm like, oh, dude, well, it's the same thing as the Ethos,
Yeah. Which is
So
how they
this
become
is the
leads.
part where you gotta really hone in your skills essentially and get good at like asking good questions and bringing value.
Hey
And
Bryson, that's exactly why you could repurchase those Ethos leads that are in the cart because people see the price, but they don't see the value because they had nobody explain it
that's
to
it. They had nothing to correlate it to.
them. Right.
Do you know how many Ethos leads? And I'm so happy you brought this up because it does so much for you when you start seeing this process. You know how many Ethos leads they applied, they applied for like $500,000, right? Because who wouldn't at 72 years old? Makes sense? Like,
Might as
of
well.
course. They apply for $500,000. They get offered TrueStage for 50,000 for $300, and they go, F that. I'm not doing that.
My quote said
And-
$80 for 500.
Yeah. I said $80 for 500. Okay. And then I call them up. Okay. Let them know, hey, I saw you on Ethos, trying the application. I don't know how much they applied for, nothing like that. But hey, and then next thing you know, they tell me the story. Yeah, I applied, but it came back at something less than. I said, all good, man. We got something for everybody. Then we go through the whole deal, and then I end up selling them more than what they were quoted for less. Right? And they're like, it's the funniest thing ever. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because us as the human, the sales individual, we help people make decisions. They weren't going to just buy the 40,000 after they were shopping for 500 by themselves. But if I'm with them and that happens, I can walk them through why 40 grand is still going to do what they thought 500 grand was going to do. And that's what Dennis's training was about last week. And if we can get so locked in, Lacey, I'm so proud of you for going with value over price. Because if you tell him, hey, 40,600 and something dollars a month before you know if he's approved or before you can really put the value on what's there, he's like, hell no, I'm good. I'm good. But when the value is there of this is a solution. But in order to get solution, we got to get real with people. In order to get solution, we have to really set structure. Because if we don't set structure, they'll never tell us the real problem so that we can give them a solution. All right. I bet Zach, Jason, I bet you're getting a lot more real with them. Zach, I know at the beginning you would build relationships with your clients a lot based on humor and kind of like likability, which is cool because you're a likable person. But I feel I've heard you lately and I've seen your numbers go up. Do you think your clients are seeing you different than the friend maybe that they thought they had before, Zach? Like what's changed there?
Absolutely. I cut back on like being buddy. I pick my spots of where to, make people laugh and, let everybody humanize myself.
Right.
But even after just going over numbers with you a couple of months back and just looking at, why was I having such great conversations but not really closing? You know what I mean? And it was like, oh, well, I'm too worried about trying to be liked instead of fixing people's problems and showing value. And so ever since I really just started hammering on the value and asking the right amount of questions, and even if it's the wrong question, just asking questions in general, because that opens up Pandora's box. And just creating that value by the time I presented numbers and then reiterating that value of what it was going to do, like it's kind of, I kind of feel weird when somebody was like, oh, let me think about it, or okay, I'll talk to you later. And I'm like, wait, you're not going to buy? Like it's got to the point now when I present numbers and I show value, I'm expecting them to pick one and say, okay. Not that they always do, but it's like a change that kind of happened.
Yeah, because if you're showing numbers and saying, I hope that they say they can afford this, that means that we didn't show value that was cemented in. We got to show value that's more cemented in. Like, I got to sell the family on that they need an 8-seater minivan so bad that it doesn't really matter how much the 8-seater minivan is. Their problems require an 8-seater minivan. Like, do you guys, hopefully, like, I'm trying to give you these dumbass analogies, but like, I promise you, like, you've got to put yourself in that position that I'm going to sit here with this couple, this man, this woman, and I'm going to make their problems so massive that my solution is undeniable. And sometimes you're going to have those clients that the solution is you just saying, oh, it's this much, and they're just so excited to get the insurance. You're going to run into those, but those aren't the ones that are going to keep you profitable and pay your bills. Okay? Like, you're going to run into people who just want to do it. But there's going to be the folks that you're going to lead them, and they're going to follow your strength. Make sense? So, any feedback or anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak to that real quick. So, if you kind of look at it in a little bit different way of how the client is looking at this conversation, if they only see numbers and to them, if you don't build value, it's a $600 payment. It's a debt for them. There's no value whatsoever. They're not going to see the $40,000. Their family's going to get it. So all they see is, now I got $600 I got to pay. I got a new debt. I got all this. But if you build the value, that thinking process of that client of just it being a debt to them is value. Because we're not selling a product where they're going to get it in the mail and, like, they're not getting a big box of something. This is like not tangible. It's just value. And we have to like really build that. And if we don't, it's just a debt to them. So that's why building the value. And I've changed up my whole thing too. I mean, I used to kind of be funny to people. I still, and like Zach says, right, the right times I'm funny. I try and do to make them laugh, to break the ice. But for the most part, I'm like all business, and they like that. They need that. They need that structure, because people don't buy life insurance, but once in their lifetime, twice, or sometimes never. So they don't know the process. They want somebody to guide them through, because they have no idea how to do it, or else they do it themselves, right? They need us.
You know what's really cool?
On that too.
Yeah, you got it, Lacey.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, you got it.
So actually, with the guy today, and then there was another guy too, I spoke with them back in March, and he actually questioned several times if I was the same person. Back in March, I actually quoted him. It was more affordable than today, so it was like $500 or something. And who knows if I did it right, because that was my first time. But he made a point to point out. Then he purchased more. He called me knowing what the quote was back then, and now he had to spend more. And he mentioned how I seemed like a different person. My demeanor was different, and he appreciated that I was guiding him through the process. So I used to be in the beginning, same thing, kind of funny, and I'll still be funny when the time is right. And I've built that kind of trust in them, but I was more super friendly, and my tone sounded a lot different. So I had one other guy, same thing back in March. He came back later and had to spend more money as well. This was just like 2 weeks ago. And he mentioned something too about me sounding like a totally different person. They had to ensure that I was the same person. So it's huge. Your tone is huge.
Thank you. That's almost kind of like what I was about to say, story, but I didn't have a story behind it. Okay. Like, that's so real. Like, early on, a lot of us, we're going to default to friendly mode. Okay. And like, sometimes your overly friendly is going to end with a lot with like them not seeing the value in what you're presenting anymore. Do you guys see how those things can go hand in hand? So here you are trying to shove value down, but you've also been laughing with them for the past 30 minutes about dumb shit. But man, you really need, no, hold on. Let me check why. Because a lot of the times, you guys, clients will try to lure you in with jokes and telling stupid stories and things like that. And you've got to discern, are they doing this because they genuinely want to be like telling me this, or are they trying to butter me up so that they can say something stupid later? And I promise you guys, you may not believe me at the beginning, but as you guys are going through it, 9 times out of 10, they're just trying to butter you up. Maybe 8. You may have to, you may be lucky and get the 20% of people who actually like you a lot. Okay. But I'm just being real. You got to realize, when are they just trying to play me, or are they genuinely giving me information? All right. And if they're trying to play you early on and you could feel it, you're like, all right, hey, guys, I got a ton more people to go see, talk to today. All right. I would love to pick up this conversation, and you are hilarious, but let's take care of this insurance. Okay. So we're going to take care of the insurance, and then we can do all the other stuff another time. Are you game with handling the insurance? And then you're going to check to see, is this really a client who's looking to buy, or are they just sitting here trying to tell me old war stories? Do you know what I mean? Or are they just trying to continue to get me laughing about something I really don't care about? And that's the thing with clients. I don't laugh at stuff I don't care about for too long. Some of y'all are getting a whole politic laughter and like don't even mean it. I'm like, dude, are you seriously sitting there still talking to them about 15, 20 minutes about something, one, that doesn't matter, and two, you don't even believe in? Like, they could read it too. And now you're going to try to sell them something after they know you've been fake caring about something. Makes sense? Like, don't do that. All right? Care about what you should care about, and don't, and move on from the stuff that just is a waste of your time. So, and like Lacey said, you keep calling the same people, they will realize, oh my God, you're different. What's changed? See, our clients aren't practicing. Lacey, your clients, they weren't practicing how to say no over the last 2 months. But you've been practicing how to not get no. Big difference, dude. Big difference. Imagine if you guys played sports and the other teams that you were competing against didn't train at all. Could you imagine? Dude, we'd be freaking undefeated, right? Be like, dude, the Dominic Rogers team wins the championship again. Why? Because, dude, like, we just freaking kill it. Like the Lakers, like, they just don't practice. They have the same players, but they don't practice. They were good at the beginning. Could you imagine that? Even if a team was really good at the beginning, before you started, like right now, as a new agent, your clients are smoking you, right? You're like, damn, dude, they're kicking my ass. I know, but that's fine. That's fine. They're right here, but you're right here. You just keep practicing. Eventually, they'll be here and you'll be up here. But we got to build up that thick skin and that callus on the way up. And that's where a lot of people get lost, is that they don't build up the callus to get better than their competition. And some people start right off the rip. Bryce started, his clients were here. Bryce started a little bit above them. He was like, shit, I was in door-to-door sales and they didn't even know I was coming over. So like, this is good. When I started, my clients were up here. I was down here, never had a job. Does that make sense? So you got to know, where are you as it pertains to the client? And some of you are where I was, below zero. Makes sense? Which is cool. But build your callus up, because then eventually you'll get above the client, because the clients ain't practicing a damn thing. Somebody's hearing this right now, and they're about to start like a life insurance client coalition to start training them on how to say no, right? They're like, yo, this is a great idea. Let's get all their leads and let's shoot them messages on, this is how you avoid scammy ass insurance people. Like, could you imagine if they were getting trained on that? We'd be freaking defeated, bro. But that's not what we got going on. They ain't doing nothing but filling out more forms. So I know this sounds funny, but I'm just trying to give you some perspective. You know what I mean? So, hey, we got 10 minutes until our training today. Our training today is by a new agent. He's been with us probably about a year or so. Trey's going to tee this thing up, but my man's killing it. All right. Bryce, you met him when we were at the Palm Springs event.
Yep.
He was probably about 3 or 4 months. He came up with Zach as the new agent. Remember that new agent panel we had?
Yep.
Yeah, he was at the lock-in with us in Scottsdale too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So now, yeah, he on his thing, man, doing 30, 40 grand a month. I think he's only like 23, 22.
Right, because you said he was issued in Palm Springs. You were like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
issuing your age."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
was like, man, I ain't doing too much. I think I'm doing like 20 grand. I said, how old are you? He goes, 19. I'm like, bro, you're issuing older than you are? Shit.
Yeah, the hair threw me off. It was blonde. It's blonde now.
Yeah. My bad, Dak. When you're making money like that, you can dye your hair.
You start feeling good.
Okay.
You start taking risks, just like on the phones.
I love it. But
But
training
Don,
on
what you were saying
today-
about that callus though, I think that's the
Yes, yes.
realest thing when it comes to sales, and I think that's why the turnover rate is so high. Is because people get scared to build that callus. So, and even for myself, like calling people, that shit was scary when I first started doing it. You know what I mean? And like I didn't want to do it. I wanted to start making excuses, but I just kept reminding myself that you got to get past that learning curve and you got to build that callus up. Now somebody could tell me to F off and I'll tell them to F off and then I'll hang up and get right to the next call, you know?
And don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it. It's just, it's in and it's out.
But the first thing is recognizing where you were as it pertains to where you needed to be. And you realize like, this is something that's uncomfortable for me. This is something that I really don't want to be doing. And it's very okay to be real with yourself. Okay? Like to be real with yourself and then go, the follow-up to that is, do I have another option though? And that was always whenever I was getting into a rut or anything that happened, I'd always go, okay, cool. I hear you, Dom. Like, I'll be real. I'll talk to myself a lot, you guys. Like, I'll have my own little freaking dialogues, okay? And do you have a plan B? And I'll be like, no. Well, get on the phone then. You know, and then you get on the phone, and then 30 minutes later, you had a contact. Maybe you didn't even make a sale yet, but you start getting these good endorphins flowing. And then you're like, oh shit, like, man, I'm so happy I made the right decision. And I just want more of you guys to feel that. The deposits, we opened up this thing talking about all the money and stuff, which is great, okay? But I want you to feel those endorphins of like, damn, I did what I said I was going to do. Nobody's more proud of you than you. I promise you that. But are you giving yourself something to be proud of? And I promise you guys, you're proud and you'd be like, yeah, I need to make money. I promise you there's other things that you understand. You know how good I feel when I go to the gym and I don't want to go to the gym? Like personally, I feel so good about myself. Makes sense? And it's like what that does for me the rest of the day or what that does. So I implore you to be more intro with what your desired outcome is and the wins, the checkpoints along the way. Because there's so many more checkpoints than just deposits for you. Okay? Like, and just be mindful of that. So questions, comments about anything that we talked about today, because this training, let's kill it on this training today with this with my guy. What's my guy's name? His name is Hanen Roberts. Dude, he's 20. Ain't that something? 20. One thing about FFL, dude, it kick you in the nuts, right? Making you think like, what have I been doing with my life? Right? Like, damn, dude. Like straight up, I sit back every day and go like, dude, what have I been doing with my life? Like, what? Like, okay. Well, good thing I found this at 24. Okay. Because we ain't looking back. And wherever you are and you found this is the time. Somebody asked me yesterday, said, hey, what's the hardest part about, building a team and managing agents? I go, I don't think it's hard at all. All right. Like at all, because this is the piece of like, this is the fun piece. Selling the insurance part, yeah, that's you have to learn that, but learning people is forever. All right. And helping people get out of their specific situations, there's nothing more gratifying than that. But what I will say is about building that team, and this is what I told them, is that if you're just doing it to like build money or have more money, then you will get burnt out on it. You will. People will annoy you. You will get bothered. Because when you start making money, you won't want to take those calls no more. So I never started this because now if they were like, dude, you could hire for free and never get anything for it, I would have never done it. I'm just being real. Okay. So to say the money had nothing to do with it, that's a lie. But the money wasn't the catalyst. You with me? Because there's be other ways to make money and sell insurance without the headache. Be clear, I could make money in insurance, use that money and invest in other things and make an override, not override income, but make money somewhere else. But I enjoy doing this piece. I enjoy seeing people fall on their face and then getting back up and going like, dude, I want to help them figure it out so bad. But then knowing, dude, that ain't it. It's like your kid. It's like I can keep tying my kid's shoe, but then he would have never learned how to tie his shoe. Now my son's 7. He's been tying his shoe since he was like damn near like 5.5. Okay. But all of his teammates and stuff like that can't tie their damn shoe. Now I'm telling you guys this because this is the type of stuff that I took from this business that I said, I got to put in my personal life. And my son's going to thank me later when he goes, dude, freaking friends still can't tie their shoes. I try not to laugh sometimes, you know what I mean? Because it's almost funny. I hate to say it, but you're like, dude, Dom, don't laugh at my kid. I'm like, dude, you should have taught him freaking stop tying their damn shoes and buy them Velcro, okay? But like, you know what I mean? But like, it's the beautiful thing is just to see people learn how to tie their own damn shoe, right? Learn how to freaking invest in leads. It's the cool to hear, what's that girl? Kylie go, man, I need to figure out my freaking lead flow. Well, what's the problem? Man, I'm just getting in my way, just not buying them when I know I need to. Now, I could be on her every day. Hey, you buy leads? Yo, yeah, buy leads today. Then she probably would have been like, dude, this fool's annoying. Does that make sense? Versus her getting to a spot going, yeah, I'm kind of freaking up my lead flow. Yep. So why do you say that? Because I just don't have enough leads and I kind of ring them out a little bit too long. And then by the time I buy leads, it's like, da, da, da. But it was her. I love that. I love that piece. I love seeing people figure it the hell out. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of going on that, but just to let you guys know, like this is a fun business, but buckle up. All right. You got the link in the chat for the next meeting. It's on Zoom. Let's really give a shout out to Han and take a lot of notes. All right. And I can't wait to hear you guys on this training, sharing what you're doing. All right. Because some of the feedback we got here today and the problems that you guys have and the solutions that you're bringing to clients, people need to know about that type of stuff, Lacey. They need to know about what you're changing, Zach. They need to know about Jason, how you go from $1 million selling for somebody else to selling $500,000 plus for yourself. They need to know that type of stuff. So I'm honored to be in business with you guys. Link is in the chat. Bryce, thanks a ton for everything you do. And everybody have a freaking killer week. Later, you guys.
Thank you.